Hello everybody, good evening. This is Heather Hall here. I am a registered dietitian and a certified leap therapist, and tonight I'm going to be sharing my husband and I's story, our family story of when my husband was diagnosed with his second autoimmune disease and all of the things that we've tried since then to help, and what has helped and what has not helped, and kind of just the stuff that we've learned along the way. So in part one, at realhealthymamas.com, if you go to the blog there, you'll find our story part one, where we talk about when we found out about his first autoimmune disease and some of the things that we learned back then. And then, so now I'm going to talk about when we found out he had actually a second autoimmune disease as well that we didn't realize for a long time, and what we've been doing since then. So I'm excited to share what we've been doing that has helped, so that hopefully it can help other people out there, and also some things that haven't helped, so that you don't try those things. So, hi Kelly, thanks for joining. So here we go. Let's dive in. So initially, the first autoimmune disease, just as a backup, if you don't know, the first part of our story is that my husband was diagnosed with psoriasis several years ago, and which is an autoimmune skin condition that causes these big patches of like red, itchy, sometimes it hurts, scaly rashes on his skin, and some of them will come and go, so that was the first autoimmune disease that we discovered that he had. And I did lots of research trying to find different things that might help, because we were trying to avoid when the original prescription creams stopped working, the steroid creams. The next step that we were told was to take some medications that would basically suppress his immune system, but they had a lot of side effects that we just felt like we didn't want to take the risk of him having yet at such a young age. And so we turned to food, and I did tons of research. It was difficult at first to find any information on other ways to help autoimmune disease besides medications, but eventually I was able to start pulling together some information and found lots of great stuff. And so my husband is my guinea pig, so we tried stuff on him, and I also have some family members that had different issues going on, and other autoimmune conditions, and so they were my guinea pigs as well. And so practicing these things that I was researching on them, learned a ton of stuff. So you can go read that blog at realhealthymamas.com and just learn some more about our story there. After we tried a lot of those things and found that food actually does make a huge difference in how he was feeling and how all the rest of us were feeling as well, I discovered in my research that a lot of the symptoms he was having were actually probably another autoimmune disease called psoriatic arthritis, which is where your own body is attacking your joints, basically. And so this was really worrisome for us. We had always just blamed it on that my husband had a bad back. The foot pain that he was having, which is also a classic sign of psoriatic arthritis, he thought was his new boots that he had got, and so he was ready to, he just spent a bunch of money on a really nice pair of new boots for work, and, he was ready to go, throw those away and get some different boots because we thought it was the boots. We discovered that some of the weird stuff going on with his nails and just some other symptoms actually were probably arthritis. And so we decided to go ahead and not mess around with this, because every day that his joints were hurting was one more day that his body was attacking his joints, and we didn't want to take that risk that his joints are being slowly destroyed. And so we found a functional medicine doctor that we felt like would that would work with us, that had experience with autoimmune disease. And it was actually not a doctor, but a nurse practitioner. And so we felt like she would work with us with our goals of not going straight to medications, but maybe trying some other things first. But at the same time, we knew we didn't want to mess around with it either and risk his joints being destroyed. So by the time we got him set up and got him into this new practitioner, it was January of 2018, I believe. And so he had a bunch of testing done. We found out that he did, in fact, have mild to moderate joint damage already in his hips and lower back. So that was definitely something we wanted to prevent any further damage on. We found out that he had pretty low vitamin D levels, that he had a yeast overgrowth in his intestinal tract, and I'm trying to remember what else the testing revealed. That his gut lining was probably not in great shape, low secretory IgA. Anyway, so we went to work on this. So the first thing that our practitioner had him do was actually a food sensitivity test, an IgG food sensitivity test, and it's called the Candida diet to help clear that yeast infection. And so, yeah, he was kind of a mess. Hi, Tanya. Thanks for joining. So that was the first thing that he did. And at this point, up till this point, he had been kind of playing along and doing the things that I had asked him to do, but somewhat half-heartedly. I would have to kind of prod him along and do a lot of the work for him in order to get him to follow. But at this point, when he saw that, hey, like, my joints are being destroyed, and my long-term health is really at risk here, he became very self-motivated. And so it was awesome because he totally took control of all of the stuff that his practitioner was recommending and made it happen. And so he followed a very, very difficult diet that she recommended for him for over a month to get rid of the yeast overgrowth, and then also to avoid the foods that he was sensitive to according to the IgG food sensitivity test. And unfortunately, we saw very little change in his condition following that protocol for a while. At the same time, I had been continuing to do a lot of research and stuff on my own and learned about Mediator Release testing, which is a different way to test for food sensitivities. And the IgG tests you can get from, I don't even know, probably hundreds of labs around the country. Everybody's offering them. They're kind of like the big thing these days. They've got finger prick ones and hair sample ones, and there's just every lab under the sun is offering them now these days. But what I learned as I continued studying is that the IgG food sensitivity tests actually aren't very well supported with research, and actually can have a lot of false positives and a lot of false negatives. Meaning false positives, meaning that it will tell you that you're really sensitive or reactive to a food, that food is bothering you and causing inflammation and problems when it's not. And also false negatives, meaning that it'll tell you that a food is fine, that you can totally eat it, it's not causing any problems, when in fact it is causing a lot of problems, because IgG is only one marker for your immune system, and there's a lot of other ways that your body could be reacting to foods. Anyway, so I learned about a different test called a Mediator Release Test the science of it made a lot of sense to me. And talking with other dietitians that were using it and trying it with their patients, it was having a lot of success. So I decided to go ahead and go through all of the training, get certified to be able to offer this test so that I could do it with my husband. So I started, I think it was in April. April of 2018 that I got all certified and passed the testing and all of that, and was able to get his Mediator Release testing done on him, and it came back with a totally different set of food sensitivities than his first test had. And so I went to work putting my training to use and designing the protocol that follows. The way they apply the results is also different than with an IgG test. You really need to work with a elite practitioner to get good results, because it can be complicated. And so anyway, so we came up with his LEAP plan is what it's called. And again, he was really good about following a difficult diet to go along with these results. But within about, I can't remember if it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we started to see a difference. So the first thing that we noticed, I believe, was that his psoriasis was getting better. And his reflux also was better. I'm trying to remember because there were so many different things we tried. His reflux had gone away the first time. He had really bad reflux along with all of his other stuff that was keeping him from even being able to swallow his food sometimes at meals. And that had gone away the first time that we had done my kind of test program the previous fall. But I think it had come back a little bit anyway, and so that went away. And then we started to notice that his joints weren't hurting as much anymore, and the swelling in his feet had gone down. And so that was super exciting, and kind of helped him be able to stick to the diet. So that was just a couple weeks in. We were seeing all that good stuff. And as he continued to follow the plan, his joints just continued to get better and better. And so part of the goal with this LEAP plan and the, working through the food sensitivities is that you shouldn't be sensitive to these foods forever. It's not a normal thing. And so once you get sufficient gut healing and calm your immune system down sufficiently, you're able to start bringing back in the foods that were causing problems before, that you were really reactive to in the beginning, and they don't bother you anymore. And so eventually we worked through this protocol using mostly his joint pain, because that seemed to be the thing that responded immediately to his food sensitivities. If he would eat something bad, his joints would hurt usually a couple hours later. And so we kind of used his joint pain to gauge which foods were okay for him and which ones were not. And we're able to work him back to a point a few months later where basically the only foods that still bothered him and that caused noticeable pain were wheat and peppers of all sorts. And so those are the things. We're also suspicious of shrimp. We don't eat it that often though, but when we had it at New Year's, he was in a lot of pain for a couple days. So, and that's the only thing we can figure that he ate that was different than normal. Anyway, so we're in a really great place right now as far as his joint pain is concerned. His arthritis is not bothering him very much. When we first started all of this, he was hobbling around like an old man. He couldn't really ride a horse. He couldn't mount up onto a saddle because it hurt so much. He couldn't lift a lot of heavy stuff. He couldn't wrestle with our kids at night because he was just so sore. And so it was really becoming limiting to him. And so now he feels good. He's not limping around. He has occasional days where he'll have a little bit of soreness or stiffness in some of his joints, but it's not painful unless he eats something that he shouldn't, which he's pretty good about not doing anymore because he knows that it's a problem, which is nice. I don't have to police him. He's totally self-motivated. Let's see, we've had a few people join us. Hi, Libby and Crystal and Dawn. Thanks for joining. So that's where we're at as far as his arthritis goes. So he's doing really well with his arthritis, and there's some more things we would like to continue to do to encourage healing of that, and maybe get rid of even those rare days when he is sore and stiff. The psoriasis, on the other hand, has been another story. His has been one of the toughest cases that I've come across. So I've been able to help other people with psoriasis, and a lot of the dietitians that use this LEAP therapy have had really great results. I've seen their clients' experiences and picture, before and after pictures. But with my husband's psoriasis, his has been a really tough case. And I think that part of that might have been because we did see it start to clear up initially when we started his LEAP protocol, the Mediator Release testing and then LEAP protocol. And then it kind of got bad again as the months went on. And I think that his psoriasis is slower to respond to his food sensitivities. And so we weren't noticing it. We were just gauging by his joint pain. And I think there's probably some different foods that are bothering his psoriasis as opposed to his joints. So unfortunately with his psoriasis, we're still working on it. We haven't totally solved that mystery, but we are happy that he is able to function and be feeling good, even if there's still the skin issues that are bothering him. So we're still researching, still looking for answers. He's still trying different things out to see what will help. Along with all of these food changes that we made over the last year and several months, we also have had him on supplement protocols to help. So of course his vitamin D was low. We've had him on a high dose vitamin D, a really robust multivitamin, curcumin, which is a good anti-inflammatory, different essential oils. We've tried like some gut and liver cleanses, just to kind of support his detoxing abilities, probiotic to help with his gut health, and then of course just a much healthier diet than he was on before to support his gut health and make sure that that's all healing up and staying in good shape. And so, but none of the supplements, I have to say, have brought visible results the way that food has. So while I do still have him take the supplements, because I think that they're probably behind the scenes providing some important support for his body, the food has been the most powerful thing that we've been able to do for him. Now, he's been feeling really good and recently got back into the habit of exercising again. And of course, as a lot of you might know that suffer with joint pain or just other conditions where you're feeling lousy, it's hard to exercise when you feel lousy all the time. And maybe not even good, in his case with arthritis, if you're, stressing those joints when they're sore. But exercise also does seem to really help him. So he feels at his best when he's eating well and keeping his inflammation low that way. And then when he's doing exercises that aren't, jarring or really hard on the joints. So that's the things that's working really well for his psoriasis, or for his psoriatic arthritis. As far as his psoriasis goes, we recently started trying a vitamin D cream for that. And it takes a couple of months to notice results. So I can't report yet on if the vitamin D cream is helping, but I know that in studies that it has helped with psoriasis. So I can say that much. So that might be something to try if you have psoriasis. I'm trying to think what else we have tried. I think that the biggest thing I just want to point out is that food sensitivities can play a big role in autoimmune disease, but I want to just caution against going out and getting one of those IgG tests. Definitely some are better than others, depending on which lab you use, but it's hard to know which labs are good and which ones are not. Probably definitely wouldn't go with like a finger prick test lab. But just in general, the IgG is just not going to be very accurate. Some people do get results with it. They do notice a difference because it is able to catch some of their sensitivities. So if you get lucky and it catches the right ones, then it might help. But I have since used the Mediator Release Test on dozens of clients besides my husband, and it's pretty amazing. So if you're going to go with food sensitivity testing for your condition, and I've used it on people with autoimmune disease, fibromyalgia, different skin conditions, polycystic ovarian syndrome, diabetes, all with really, really, really great results. So if you're going to go the food sensitivity testing route, I definitely recommend working with someone. It's called a certified LEAP therapist. Work with a certified LEAP therapist, get the Mediator Release testing done. Don't do the IgG. That would be my main recommendation. Let's see. And then I just also want to say, while we're able to be managing his condition right now pretty well without medications, and I feel like we still have discoveries to make, and we're going to continue to improve on a lot of things. I don't think that medication is always a bad route, because you got to keep in mind, you got to weigh the pros and cons in your situation. And if you have an autoimmune disease and it's attacking your joints and your organs or things like that, it might not be a bad idea to get on something that can calm that down before serious damage is done. And you can be working on nutrition and lifestyle changes at the same time, and work with your doctor on maybe eventually weaning off of the medications when you get things under control, or reducing the dose at least. But don't totally rule out medications, because that's not always a bad route to go. But I do think that if you're just taking the medications and you're not doing anything about anything to reduce inflammation, basically anything to address the real problem that's going on, you're just suppressing your immune system, and your immune system is flared up for a reason. So if you're just suppressing it, you're not fixing the problem. And there's going to be side effects and things. So you've got to do the nutrition part and the lifestyle part, and get at the heart of what is causing all of that inflammation and causing your immune system to go awry in the first place. And so I'm a big believer in that, and getting at the root causes and not just suppressing symptoms. But, managing symptoms isn't always a bad thing. Keep yourself comfortable, manage the damage that's going on while you get at the root of the problem, sometimes is a good route to go too. So those are the main things going on with us right now. Let's see, I'm not seeing any questions, but if you have questions about different things that we've tried or what's worked and stuff, go ahead. I'll go ahead and type them in the comments, and if I'll answer them on the live video right now if they show up in the next minute or so, or leave them in the comments if you're watching the replay of this too, and I'll make sure that I go through and check comments and answer questions as best I can, because I really want to spread the message to people that there's so much more you can do. I want to give people hope. A lot of times, a lot of the clients that I worked with, they'll call me up and we'll have our first consult, and we'll go over their health history and the things that they've tried and the things that they're suffering with. And the story I hear over and over again is that they are just kind of without hope and without direction, because they have never been told that there's anything that they can do to take control of it. The food and lifestyle piece is totally overlooked right now in our healthcare model for chronic disease. So I want to just get the message out there that it is the most effective thing that we have done for my husband's autoimmune disease, but also I can tell you that A lot of my clients have been on medications for 10, 20, 25 years, and the medications weren't even working very well. They were still in tons of pain. It didn't seem to be doing anything, and when they changed their diet within a couple of weeks, they were feeling so different. They were totally new people. So food matters. It makes a huge difference. The food choices that you're making and the lifestyle choices that you're making can have such a huge impact if you know the right changes to make. So, okay, I'm still not seeing any questions popping up, so I'll make sure that I look out for those in the comments. But thanks for joining in tonight and watching, and I hope that our story gives some hope. Make sure you share this video with people that might be struggling with autoimmune disease and looking for some answers. So I hope that it can help them. We'll talk to you later.